Here's a little one. It's quite an interesting one, though, Chewy. You might have some stuff to offer about this, because I think Timaru was a place for live exports, and it probably will be again soon. I have a feeling that was a place. So this is in Australia. Live animal exports. Legislation passes to end live sheep exports by sea from Australia. Live sheep exports by sea will end in May 2028 after the Australian Senate passed the legislation in a late night sitting. Last minute lobbying by West Australia farmers and business owners was not enough to have the legislation blocked, with Labor forcing the bill through the Senate on Monday night. Interesting choice of words there, forcing. The proposal will mean an end to live sheep exports by sea on May the 1st, 2028, with a $107 million transition package to flow to affected farmers. This is an election commitment that we took to not just one, but 2 elections, and we're now delivering on that election commitment, as Australians would expect us to do so, Agricultural Minister Murray Watt told the Senate on Monday. Further down the paragraph, it talks about the Keep the Sheep supporters travelling to Canberra on Monday to plead their case, and then they had to keep the sheep, and they had a response by the president of Western Australia's Farmers Association, I think, says this: "We will be targeting every marginal Labor seat across the country to try and get what we need." President of Western Australia's Farmers, John Hassell, told a media conference in Canberra on Monday. The coalition has vowed to overturn legislation if it is re-elected. That's an interesting point, though, Chewy. I was thinking, why are they leaving it till 2028? There's at least one more election before that. The opposition can run on that. I know that there's going to be a time scale thing and you can't just cut people's wages off, but if they did it before the election and therefore got rid of the infrastructure, it would be harder to turn around. Now, let me give you a Dunedin-based example, Chewy. I have a red wheelie bin from Waste Management. Okay? I've had it.
It's a very regional transition.
But you'll get the points. I've had it for 5 or 6 or 7 years. We've just found out from the DCC that every house in Dunedin is now going to have one of these bins as a part of our rates. So what that means for Waste Management, much like for the farmers who do live exporting, is they no longer have a business, because nobody's got. I thought today, who would hire one? I was like, should we keep 2? So I phoned Waste Management today and I said, I'm thinking about cancelling my bin. And the lady said, every contract has already been cancelled in Dunedin. It's happened automatically because it's what the council has done. And I went, oh, okay, so what's happening for picking up the bins? And she said to me, we don't know yet. Ready for this? We have to find out how to pick up 19,000 bins. So Waste Management has just had that contract taken out from under them, and the council is now I'm sure that Waste Management is still picking it up, but the bins are no longer there. So there had to be a flow on, there had to be a downstream effect. They had to do it in a way that Waste Management wouldn't go bankrupt, because that wouldn't be right. So I get that there has to be a time delay. See, there was a point, but it seems 2028 is a long way away to have to wait. Surely 2026 could have done it by then, end of 2025, and that would make it harder for the opposition to then run on, we're going to bring it back, we're going to bring it back. One more paragraph, sorry, Joe. We know this is an industry that's been in long-term decline, and the numbers of sheep being exported by sea have fallen by 90% over the last 20 years, Senator Watt said. The legislation also won the support of Green Senator Mehan Farki, who wanted to drop what the trade dropped because of animal welfare conditions. Nothing can be done to make live export ships safe for animals. This cruel trade is irredeemable, and the only option is to shut it down, she said. Now it is beyond time to shut this industry once and for all. And obviously the reason I'm bringing that for a bit of a chat, Chewy, is last week, what did we find out in New Zealand? Is that we're bringing it back. Nothing can be done to make live export ships safe for animals. This cruel and this cruel trade, is irredeemable, and the only option is to shut it down. Whilst our government goes, right team, let's fire this back up again.
Yeah. It's an absolutely monstrous fucking practice. It makes absolutely no sense. And it's pointed out with the Australian example, most farmers had turned away from it, and it's just the last holdouts. I don't it had never understood the idea why these floating concentration camps were seen as a good option for a country that tries to hold itself up as like quite an ethical farmer. Whether you agree with the farming practices around meat and that sort of thing, notwithstanding, it fucking happens. But you know, these ships were just monstrous. They're indefensible, irredeemable, as mentioned in that article. And I don't think anybody with a shred of ethics would stand for it. As you mentioned, Pat, I grew up in Timaru, and yes, that's where a lot of those ships came in, and you could smell them across the entire city. You could hear them from kilometers away. Just horrible. And I just don't see why that is seen as a better option than, you know, processing the product here and exporting it as a frozen thing. From an animal husbandry point of view, from an ethics point of view, from an economical point of view, live sheep export is a one-way trip for a hiding. And like when a lot of our export partners are now looking at things like food miles, animal welfare, carbon offsets, all of that sort of thing, this is the past.
That looks comfy, eh? In a ship.
Oh, and that's probably at the start. There's a reason why they don't show the ships at the end of the journey.
Because they are literally covered in feces and all sorts of other things as well.
There's a reason why all the footage and pictures of these ships at sea or towards the end of their journey have to be smuggled out.
Yeah, it's just a bizarre one, actually, because I don't know. I mean, other than particular cultures or religions that need to kill a live animal as a part of their preparation, I don't know how big that market is, especially as if Australia is telling us the practice has dropped by 90% already.
Yeah.
Then, you know.
And from a cultural point of view, like this is why we had halal butchers. Like we solved that problem. And it's again this thing of like, we can't do things here. We have to send them overseas. They'll do the finishing work. They'll add the value, that sort of thing. Ugh.
I mean, as you said, Chewy, no longer white sheep, are they?
No, it's a floating concentration camp.
Yeah. Yep. And this is what our government supports. Now, I know that people are going to go, well, they don't support treating like this. I guess the point is you can't not have that. There's no system out there that, for example, will take the feces away.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry. But, you know, look at it. Maybe it'd be nice to talk to Mr. Luxon and show him that video and see what they think about that. Because you know what they'll say? They'll go, we'll do it properly. But no one's ever figured out how to do it properly. No one's ever figured out how to do it safely. And even if it's just do they call it the yawl of the boat, the way it tips, whatever it is, you know, that's cruel to them because they don't know what it is. They'll fall over, they break bones. You know, it's just, there's no way of doing it. Maybe what I'll do, I'm gonna put this link because I know that was pretty graphic what I just put. But if people are interested in finding out for themselves, I'll just put a link in the chat and you guys can go look at it yourselves because you might want to have it for someone else.
I mean, I have enough trouble seeing like stock trucks going around and that sort of thing. That I think is traumatizing enough. But you know, I had a friend once who had a look inside a stock truck that was just in a petrol station. The guy was going to get a pie and take a leak or whatever. He looked at the truck. He never ate meat ever again. Like I get there's a realism to this, right? Is that yes, we should be cutting down on eating meat, and we know all the bad stuff. But live animal exports are so far ahead of that and just pure cruelty. It's indefensible. And anyone in the New Zealand farming sector that wants to hold themselves up and go, I am a good farmer, I look after my animals and that sort of thing, cannot then go, we want this.
Yeah.
It's damaging to the entire reputation of New Zealand animal production.
Yep. Yeah. Apologies about showing that if it upsets some people, but someone saying in the chat, this is awful to watch, but we oughtn't look away. I get it. So that's why I put the link in there, and you can investigate it for yourselves.